Hello and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I often take a lot of flack from my friends because I like to misquote The Princess Bride. Unbelievable! Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of The Princess Bride, today we're going to take a look at The Princess Bride adventure book from Ravensburger. The Princess Bride adventure book from Ravensburger is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players in which you actually play through the various parts of the movie using this clever board book. Essentially, you go ahead, you open up the book, and you have the first chapter, which is Wesley working on the farm for Buttercup. Now, you have various tokens that are going to represent the chores that have to be done. You're going to have cards that represent different things like intrigue and adventure and love and courage that are going to be passed around. Each player starts with 4 of those cards for every chapter. But you're going to set up specific things on the board. You're also going to have plot cards. This is Fred Savage interrupting the game. And believe me, nobody likes Fred Savage interrupting a game. Now, on your turn, you can do different things. First of all, you can move 1 character 2 spaces or 2 characters 1 space each. Now, next you have the storytelling phase. You can trade a card to another player. That's allowed. You can go ahead. You can play cards to do specific things that the story requires you to do to defeat monsters, or as I say, complete chores, or whatever else have you, or to move items on a track. Then you can also, once you have met certain conditions, you can try to meet a challenge in that chapter. Now on the side of the board, it tells you different things that happens when you complete certain chapters. It kind of says what you have to do in order to complete them and how many of those certain kinds of cards you have to play in order to complete them. So once you complete the chapter, you put a token there to show that that particular chapter is completed, and you also get a certain reward. Sometimes you get to draw cards from a special deck that can give you special powers, or certain other things may happen as well. There's also little miracle tokens along the board. You can go ahead, you can claim those by moving through them. You can spend those later to draw 3 cards from the regular deck or 1 card from the special deck. Now, after you've kind of done everything you want to do, you have to draw one of those plot cards. This is the Fred Savage interrupting. And most of these plot cards have a number on them. And then you check kind of a chart next to on the other side of the board that tells you what exactly that plot point does. And it may be things that are, don't really matter that much, or they may be things that are very dire. And depending on the chapter, that's going to say specifically what that plot point does. And if you ever get to the point where you get so far that Fred Savage actually succeeds in interrupting you, then you have essentially failed that particular chapter, and you can go ahead and try it again. You can do a replay. You've got a replay marker. You can replay it. However, if you fail it the second time, you've lost the game. Now, finally, at the end of your turn, if you have more than 6 cards, you have to discard down to 6, and then it's the end of your turn, it moves to the next player. There are 6 chapters in the game. The first chapter, as I say, is Wesley and Buttercup on the farm. The second one is Buttercup being kidnapped, and she's on the ship, and the mystery ships is following them. The next is the Cliffs of Despair and the fight that took there in the Cliffs of Despair. Next, you have the fire swamps with the rats of unusual size. Then, of course, you have the village and trying to heal Wesley. And then, of course, finally, you have the showdown that takes place in the castle, where you're trying to get Rugen, but you're also trying to get Wesley and Humperdinck to have their showdown as well. And of course, you've got to steal the horses for the Great Escape. But that's essentially how the story plays out. Each story has their own unique specific conditions and challenges that you have to meet, and different ways you play the cards and different ways the plot cards interact with the story. So if you've completed all of the challenges in Chapter 6, if you can get through all of those without being interrupted at least twice by Fred Savage, then you and your friends collectively win the Princess Bride Adventure Book. So the Princess Bride Adventure Book game. This is an unusual game. It's very unusual because, first of all, it's a book. So I like the way the cards play in this game, the plot cards with the various numbers, how they're kind of changed depending on what chapter you're playing. The various storybook cards, how they come into play and how you're playing them too is very interesting. And it's kind of fun to see the story of the Princess Bride play out and you kind of controlling the action, you moving the action forward. I really liked that, and it was fun, and you laughed and you remembered the movie. And if you're a fan of The Princess Bride, you're going to love this game. I mean, it's very thematic, it's very evocative of the film, and it's a lot of fun to kind of relive that parts of the film that pretty much everybody of my generation really got a kick out of. The game, however, is pretty simple. I think there were 2 of the missions where we got interrupted and we just started again and we're okay. But we're able to play through it, and it's a fairly easy game to play, and one kind of gets the feeling that this is a game that is really for younger players. This is kind of a game to play with parents and their kids, where they can, because it's cooperative, they can help them, and I think that's kind of what it is. So it's fun, but it's like, I don't know, unless you're a younger person, I don't know how much replay value you're going to get out of this game. It's a fun experience to play through once. I just don't know that that's going to be the case if you keep revisiting it. And like I say, it may, depending on your enthusiasm for the movie, you may really enjoy it and you may really get a kick out of it. For me and my friends, I'm glad I played it. It was a lot of fun. I don't know that I need to play it again. I feel like you kind of saw what it could do the first time. Also, too, I was kind of curious because they've got the special cards and the storybook cards, and they've got the same back. So you have to separate them. They got the same back. And I'm kind of wondering why. Because it's not like you're hiding your cards from everybody else. You're constantly talking. You're constantly negotiating about, okay, I can do this and I can do this. And that's another good thing. This game really can lead to alpha gaming. I mean, and because again, I think it's the nature of it. It's designed for parents to play with their kids, so alpha gaming is a big part of it. But I don't understand why those card backs are the same. It just didn't make much sense to me. Like this game, didn't love it, don't know that I'm going to be playing it again anytime soon. So recommendation for the Princess Bride Adventure Book is try it before you buy it. If you're a huge Princess Bride fan, you're going to have a lot of fun with this game. If you're looking for something a little more challenging, I don't think this is it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Let's get ready to rumble. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me. Solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Truly, The Discriminating Gamer has fundamentally transformed the board game review culture as we know it. Not too many people know this about Cody, but he grew up in very humble circumstances. His parents were too poor to afford board games. In fact, the only board game he could afford to play as a kid was Shoots.